Alright, we're gonna get on with some value trackers. So I'm just gonna slap this shut, and I'm probably just gonna pause that here. Alright. So we're looking at value trackers, and to be honest, probably the most valuable tutorial in Manim, because when you get fluent with the value trackers and your updaters, then your animations really come to life, because you can move them around on a Cartesian plane with value trackers, and with updaters you can make things stay next to each other, and you can make certain things become different objects. And so it's one we really want to get a hold of, right? So we'll import our stuff from Manim and we'll just get going. So pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some sort of a text and some sort of a number, and I want to move them around and make sure that they're next to each other. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to just go class select for updaters scene, and then we're going to just construct a scene. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create some text. So I'm going to say text is equal to text, just for something that I can put in there. I'm just going to call it follow me, because I want whatever this thing is to follow myself. I'm going to scale it down a little bit so it doesn't take up the whole screen. I'm going to set the color to be, I don't know, blue, just so we can modify it a little bit. And I'm going to put it to the edge of the screen, up left. So I want it to be in the top left corner. After that, I want to create some kind of a number. So I'm going to create my favorite number. What do I want? Math. Can I do this properly? Math text of the natural log of 2, right? Which to 2 decimal places is a good number. And I want to put it next to the text that I've just created, right? And I want to keep it right. So I've got this thing in the top left, and I want to keep this number to the right of it. Okay, I can keep it down, like I can keep wherever I want. And I'm going to set this color to be red, just so I can distinguish between them. Now I can go ahead and try and play this. So I'm going to go show creation of text and show creation of the number, self wait, and then I'm going to try and move this text. I'm going to self play text.animate shift, and I'm going to shift it right times 4. Let's slow the runtime down a bit so we can see. You've got a 3, and we're going to wait there. So now obviously this is not going to work because we haven't added up any updaters, but I just want to highlight the errors that can be made here. So this is select for updaters. Alright, so we get follow me bro. What? Oh, I've put in the wrong thing. Hang on. Manim. This is not called Manim lec 4. This is live lec 4. I'm pulling from the wrong file there. And lec 4 updaters PM. That should not happen. That will not happen if you did that. You will get something more like this. And am I dropping any frames here? I'm not. Okay, sweet. My computer's just awfully slow. I might close Discord. And I might actually close Spotify. It's awfully slow. Right, so this is what should happen. It should create the stuff, but then that's going to move, and the number is not going to follow, right? And so now if we want the number to follow, we must add an updater, right? So here we must add an updater, right? Must. Otherwise, we're just adding it and we're playing it and we're saying, look, put it next to it initially, like that's how you initially want it to be. But as soon as I start moving it, don't update anything. And so if you want it to update, you've got to go num.add updater, add underscore updater, and then you've got to tell Manim what you want it to do. So this is kind of through a lambda function. If we're just keeping it simple, otherwise we'd have to define our own function, which we might do when we're doing complex stuff. But for the moment, we'll keep it simple, so go lambda x such that I want to keep x next to the text to the right of it. Okay, and so now with this updater in place, making sure I'm pulling the correct one, this is live lec, good. And so now it should update, it should keep it to the right. So put up, and as we move it, we've added the updater, they're going to move together, which is what we would expect. Okay, so we're saying add the updater, and when you add the updater, it says, all right, I'm going to stay next to it. Now that's one method of doing it. I like just having add updater with mobjects. So these are these mathematical objects within Manim. We're going to go a little bit further. We're going to create a square is equal to square, the square mobject. Actually, I want to change the stroke color a little bit, so I can do these. Make the stroke color blue. I'll make the fill color equal to gray. Fill opacity, let's lower it a bit, so like 0.75. I'm going to scale it down to 0.75. Now, so I'm going to create this square. It's just going to show up in the middle of the screen because I haven't moved it anywhere. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create another object. Let's just call it fol. And I'm just going to create some follower sort of text just to indicate that I want this to follow the square. And I'm going to move this follower. I'm going to scale it down. Remember, scale before you position it. So I'm going to scale it down. I'm going to move to the square. Dot get center. So I want to move it to the center of the square. Okay. Now, yeah, that's cool. And I might actually change the color. I'm going to say set color to pink because why not? All right. So now again, I can play this here. I could play this, but I haven't added my updater. So if I create the square and then I get the follower text in there and then I move the square, the follower is just, it's not going to do anything because I've only defined it to initially be there. So I'm defining it. I've said move to the center of the square, but I haven't added any updaters. So if I move the square, the follower is not going to do anything. So I must add an updater. So add updater. And lambda x such that x is going to, what do I want this to do? Yes, I want it to remain next to. So I want to keep it moved to the square, the center of it. Now if I go self-play, draw border, then fill of the square. It's just one animation, you can just add it, I don't really care. Then I'm going to write fol, and then I'm going to self-play, then I'm going to have, I want the square to move. Animate, shift, actually I might just say move to, oh no, I might do to edge. So I want it to go to edge, down right. So I want it to go to the bottom right of the screen. Runtime, let's slow it down a bit to 3, and then we're going to wait. And so what should be happening here is we'll create a square, the follower will stay within the square, we're going to move it to the bottom right of the screen, and the follower should stay with it. So let's slap that in there and see if it does that. Cool. So watch it, natural log follows it because we've added our updater, very nice. And then we've got that there, it stays in the center, and we're moving it to the edge and it stays within the center. If you don't add your updater, like if you got rid of this updater here, we'll just get rid of it, it'll initially be in the center because I've defined it as move to square dot get center, which is great, but then as soon as I move the square, it's not going to be in the center because I haven't got it updated. And so you've got to be comfortable with, if you want to create some sort of a complex animation where things are changing and you want them to align as they're moving, you must add an updater. Alright, so we can see here, there it goes. So that's updater methods, which are cool. I'm going to go into value trackers, so class, and I'm going to call this one lec for value trackers. So this is, value trackers are really, really, really handy when we're dealing with the Cartesian coordinate system, because that's how we keep everything how we want it. Alright, so I'm going to create an initial value tracker. So I'm going to call it K because it's my favorite pronumeral. K is equal to a value tracker, and I'm going to set K equal to the value of 2. Now I want to display this number, so I'm going to display is equal to decimal number. Okay, so I'm going to create some decimal number, which I'm setting it to display. Now I'm going to actually change the number of decimal places to be equal to 2. So I want it to show 2 decimal places. And I'm going to set the color of this to be yellow. Great. Now I've created some decimal number objects, so it's going to be like a number that pops up that is yellow, but I haven't assigned it a value. So I'm going to say set value to K. Alright, now I'm actually going to get the value of K here. I'm going to self play show creation of display, and then I'm going to wait, and we're going to see what's going to happen here. So manam live lec for, and this is lec for value tracker PM. And so this should just be doing something really, really basic. It should just create a decimal number that is the value of 2. Okay, so nothing exciting there. But, and let me copy this because we're gonna include our updating here. Right. So now what I can do here is I can say I'm going to actually, you know what? Let's try and do this without adding an updater. So let's say self.play. I'm going to K animate, set the value of K to be 5. So what I want to happen here is what I would like to happen is I'd like to see the decimal number increase to 5, let's say. And so I'm going, okay, well, I'm going to change the value of K to be 5, and I want it to update. And so it's 2, but it doesn't update. And I'm like, oh, what the hell, man? Why didn't it do it? And it's because you haven't added an updater. So the way we do that is display.addUpdater, all right? The same as we just did, lambda x such that, now it's important, I'm going to pause here, it's important, if you called the value tracker x, don't use an x lambda function, otherwise Python will get really confused. So if I've called this x, I might just say lambda a such as a, right? But in this case here I've got k, which is why it's my favorite pronumeral, and I'm going to x set value to k.get value. So pretty much what I'm saying here is add an update on the display such that it's going to remain the same value of k. And now I'm saying show the creation and then make k go from 2 up to 5. And we can see it's taking a little longer to render here, and that's because it's probably doing something. That's a 2. There we go. Moves to the value of 5. Now, just as I know here we can actually do some simultaneous stuff here, so we can do that, and I might also add that I want to move this display. So I'm going to say animate to edge. I'm going to put it to the upright. So what I'm telling Manum to do here is create this decimal number, set it to the value of k initially, so it's going to start at 2, and then add an updater so it's always going to map the value of k. Alright, then I'm saying show the creation of the decimal, track the value of k to go up to 5, and with this updater it's saying make sure that decimal number I've created is damn well, it better be 5. Right? And then I'm saying let's move this decimal number to the top right of the screen. Cool. So we should see it play out here, and it's going to move and change its value simultaneously. Sometimes that's useful, but really what I'm trying to point at here is you've got value trackers, So it's a number that you can animate within the self-play window. That's really, really important if you're trying to do some nice calculus animations, if you're trying to change the value of dx to show when it's getting really, really small, or you're trying to change how things are varying along the x-axis, or if you're using parametric functions and you want to track how it's going with respect to time, you can set t as a value tracker and all that stuff. And also here, again, adding your updaters for your mobjects. Like, just have a play around with it and get comfortable with the idea of adding it to a scene, because it is what makes your animations come to life, right? Without any updaters, your animation's not really going to be any fun. Okay, so now let's do a poor man's version of, and I'm going to try and whiteboard it out a little bit here. We're gonna do a poor man's version of. Let me get my pen. Not that. Not my little cheat sheet. Not that. So pretty much what I want to do here is I want to create some kind of a. Actually, no, I'm not even gonna draw the axis. I'm gonna have a circle, which has got dots here, here, and that'll be along the diameter. And then I want to have a third dot here, and I want to draw a triangle. So I want to have a triangle inscribed within the circle. And then what I want to happen is I want this dot here to move around the circle, and this triangle, so like let's say if this dot moves to here, I want the triangle to then go like so. Right, so I want wherever this dot is moving around the circle, I want this triangle to be tracking wherever it is. Okay, so I want to make a nice animation where this dot here moves around the circle, and the triangle is going to update constantly. Right, so this is, again, the way I'm going to do it is by using a method called move along path, which it's a nice introduction, but if you're doing your complex animations, it doesn't give you much flexibility. Value trackers will give you much more flexibility, but that's for another day. So we're going to select for more updaters, and we're going to create a scene, and we're going to construct the scene. Now, as we've described, we need a circle. And I'm going to say stroke color is equal to blue, stroke width is equal to 4, and I'm going to say fill color is equal to white, and the opacity is a little bit lower, so let's say 0.8. And I want the radius to be equal to 2, so radius is equal to 2. So it's kind of like a big circle on the screen. Now I need to create my 3 dots. So dot 1 is equal to dot, dot 2 is equal to dot, and dot 3 is equal to dot. Now this will just create 3 dots on the screen, which is not really good, so I'm going to reposition them, right? So I'm going to say this one, the first one, move to, and I want this one to go to the circle, get top. So I want this to, if I look back here, I want this dot to go right up here. Now I'm going to do that for my next few here, so I'm going to say this one dot move to circle get left. So I want it to get to the left, and then this one I'm going to move it to the right. Now I can create this here just so we can see what it looks like. Show creation, circ, and then I might just say show creation of the vector group of dots. Okay, and so just so we can see what it looks like on the screen, what's this one called? Lec for more updaters PM. Right, I'm going to copy that so I can just paste it wherever. Alright, so we've got a circle. Oh, I really don't like that white. Oh, I don't really care. Okay. And we've got our 3 dots there, whatever. I'm going to add some more stuff to this. So I want to create a triangle, which is going to be moving, and I'm going to call it a polygon. So it's like a shape, and I'm going to define it at each vertex there. So I'm going to say triangle is equal to polygon, which is just a manim object. So dot one dot get center, dot two dot get center. Now you don't have to do this get center, but I like to just define it at the center. So even if like the edges of the polygon are kind of rough, they're in the center of the circle, so they're kind of hidden. And dot three dot get center. I'm going to modify this a little bit. I'm going to say stroke color is equal to yellow, stroke width is equal to 5. It's going to be thick. Fill color is equal to red, and fill opacity, let's say 0.8. Yeah, cool. All right, so we've created some polygon there, and we can we can do the self play, draw border, then fill of the triangle. Okay, yep, and self.weight. So we can just add this to the scene, see what it looks like. Yeah, cool. So now I've got a triangle there. Great. So I've got my initial setup. Now what I want to do is I want to create my updater so that if I move this dot around the circle, the triangle will track the dot. That's the challenge. Well, how the hell do we do that? Well, what we're going to do here is we're going to add an updater. So I'm going to say try.add updater. And I'm going to say lambda, do I want to call it x? I do. X such that x become is a nice thing. So I'm saying the triangle, I'm going to add an updater such that it's going to become this object I'm going to define. And really I'm just going to define it as the same thing, right? I want it to be a polygon that goes from .1.get center. I could actually not, I don't want to copy paste it because I'll lose my thing, but it's just going to be the same thing. So it's going to go from .1 to .2 to .3, and I want the stroke color to be yellow. I want the stroke width to be 5, and this is important to redefine it, otherwise you're just going to create a polygon that's not customized. Red underscore B, and fill opacity is equal to 0.8. Okay, so we've added this updater for the triangle. Now we've got to move we've got to get the dot to move around the circle. Now I'm gonna say straight up here, this is a shit way to do this animation, right? If I was doing this animation myself, I would be defining the circle as a parametric function. I'd be using I'd be using coordinates. Okay, I wouldn't just be using some object, but that would be too complicated for the time being. So I just want to illustrate for the purposes of this, but I'm flagging it and I'm saying this is a shit way to do this animation. Like if you want to make an animation where you're trying to show circle geometry, don't do it like this. This is just to highlight the fact that we can add updaters and we can show how they work. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to go into it. But this is a real, this is shit. Anyway, so I'm going to say move along path. Now, I'm going to give a reason why I think it's shit. And it's because we don't have the flexibility to start or stop at a particular point. If I'm saying move along path, I'm saying, hey, this object that I want to move along, you're going to go from start to finish. And you don't get an option about where you're going to start or where you're going to stop. You're gonna go along the whole path. But for the purposes of it, why the heck not? I want .1 to go around the circle. So pretty much I want this dot here. Let me redo this stuff. So I've got my circle. I've got my dots. This is .1. That's .2. That's .3. And here's my triangle there. Now when I say move along path, I'm saying .1 is going to move around this circle here. And now what if I said, oh, I only want it to go from there to there? Okay, this is why it sucks. You don't get that option. It's going to move around from here, and it's going to go all the way to the end. So if you had parametric functions defined, you could do what you like with it, but with move along path, you can't. And I'm going to make the runtime equal to 6. And I'm going to wait, and just double check the brackets there. Right. So now this should be hang on. Aha, missing a bracket there. There you go. Double check them. Cool. So it's like going to stay there, but we don't have the flexibility with our move along path. Cool. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to get at here is we can create stuff, but if we want them to move with each other, you have to use this add updater. Like without this add updater, right? Let me just get rid of it for a second, just so you can see how much it's going to screw everything up. If you don't add the updater, you're just telling something to do another thing and you're not redefining anything. So like, here we go. Let's do it without the updater. See? No movement. No movement. Alright, so we must add our updaters. Otherwise, we're not saying, hey, triangle, I want you to make sure that you're going to stay there. Alright, when stuff moves, you like saying add updater is like telling them object, alright, now make sure you follow it. Right? Don't just stay as you are, make sure you follow it. And I mean, look, that's pretty much it. So again, I want to highlight, I wouldn't be doing this, like if I was making something myself, I'd be using parametric equations and using value trackers in a coordinate system, okay, which is why value trackers is also going to be nice, because we're really going to utilize this with updaters. Anyway, there's a couple activities. Here's the first one, here's the second one. I'm going to slap them in the Discord. So it's all well and good for me to do it, but I want you guys to give him a red hot crack. Alright, so I want you to create the phrase saying, mate, follow me, with an exclamation mark, position it in the top right of the screen, add the number 4 to the left of the phrase, and have the number change from 4 to -6 to 3 decimal places, while simultaneously following the phrase to the middle of the screen. Right? So pretty much I'll show you what I want the animation to look like. Let me pull it up. Alright, so Madam like 4, where's the first activity? This is what I want it to look like. Okay, so something like that, and then the second activity, I'm actually just going to put the second activity up as well, because that might take some of you like 5 minutes. Activity 2 might be a little bit harder, I might actually walk through it, but this is what I want it to look like. Okay, I want you to create the graph and have a dot follow the line up with the text staying above it. Alright, and then this is, I mean, to be honest, this part doesn't really matter, it's just to flex a little bit. Okay. So anyway, if you got questions, let me know in the Discord, otherwise I'm just going to chill for a bit and put a little bit of music back on while we're getting some work done. Did I drop any frames? A couple. 57 frames dropped. Okay, well this is probably optimal settings then. Anyway, I'm going to lower my voice and I'm going to increase some tunes here. And of course, if you don't like it, you can just close the stream. I don't really care. Yeah, sorry. I mean, there might be a noise in the background. It's probably my fan. Like, I'll literally, it's 28 degrees right now in Brisbane. Like, it's 28 friggin' degrees. It's an absolute joke. It's the after, like, it's, yeah, well, oh, okay, I've just, it's 27 degrees actually, at 5:30 in the afternoon. So it'll be my fan. I'm literally sweating right now as we speak. So I apologise if it's kind of creaky. I'm a bit of a peasant. I'm Alright, I'm pretty much, look, I'm just going to talk over these solutions and then I'm going to wrap up. Oh, okay, hang on, let's go back. Alright, so I'm going to can this. Now, first activity, pretty much what we want to do is, we'll can that, can that. Where's Discord? Here we go. So I'm going to create a phrase saying, follow me mate, position top right screen. So I want to define that object first, add the number 4. So I'm going to need a value tracker if I'm changing it from 4 to -6. And I want it to be a decimal number, so I need to add it and set it, add a decimal number object and set it to have the value of the value tracker. So pretty much that's exactly what I do. I create this follow me mate, I put it in the top right, I set a value tracker of 4, I add a decimal number object, I set it to the value of 4. I could set it to the value of k dot or p dot get value, and I position it next to it. Okay. Then I add an updater for the value, and I add an updater for the positioning. Okay, because you've got to make sure it stays next to it as well. And then I just go ahead and do that. I create the both, and then I animate p moving. P changing its value and the text moving to the origin. Okay, but this is, if you left this part out, here, the value would change, but it wouldn't stay next to it. So if you want both of the things to be updating, you've got the value changing and it staying next to it. So that's pretty much that one there. That's sort of a simple one. Again, like, why would you create an animation like that? I don't know, just to get used to the feel, so you can customize them however you like. And then we've got, okay, so this one's a little bit harder. In craft scene, create this function, 2x minus 1, with the dot positioned on the function at the point x equals -3. Okay. Write a phrase, dot follower, position above the dot, and animate the dot moving along the function with the phrase dot follower staying above the dot the entire time. So there's a little bit more to this one. Once finished, say keen for calculus updaters, because they're going to get really nice and then just fade out the entire scene. Okay, well, that's just a little animation at the end. So we construct the graph scene, construct our axis, and set it up. Okay, you can customize that pretty much however you like. And then I'm going to create that function with an x minimum and an x maximum. And then I'm going to say dot move to towards the point -3, -7. Okay, I could have also said like graph dot underlying function of -3, but I just knew the y coordinate of it, the corresponding y coordinate. Then I'm going to have dot follower, scale it, so make it a bit smaller, and position it next to the dot above it. Right, now I need to add some updaters. So text, add the updater such that it's going to stay above the dot no matter what. Now here I'm just defining the stuff for like the square and keen for calculus, not too important. But I'm going to create the graph, create the dot, write the text. And then I want to move the dot along the graph. Right, now without this updater, the dot follower will not stay with the dot, so that's kind of important. And then once that happens, show the creation of the square, write keen for calculus, and then have the square scale up times 10 and fade out. And I've said the V group, so the vector group of everything. So I've got my graph, my dot, my text, my out text, and my axis. So I access my axis by going self.axis. And all that is going to happen over the course of 3 seconds, which is how we get something like, I don't know, let's see what it looks like. What is this? Lec 4, activity 2. And it should fade out quite nicely. Okay, again, I'm using text object here. I should just be using text. Just because I made these a little while ago before I got used to Manum CE, the Community Edition version. Alright, so this should come up. Am I dropping frames? No. Cool. Encoding overload. Anyway. My computer's hot. I like the weather here. Sizzling. Alright, so there it is. There's the dot follower. Bang, it moves and it stays updated because we told it to stay updated. And then we write that while everything else fades out. Cool. Alright, well, I'd just say have a little bit of practice, and if you've got questions, let us know on the Discord. Okay, otherwise, enjoy and stay safe.